Hi and welcome to this new tutorial. So last time we worked on adding the damage number on the screen. So today we are going to add a health bar and an energy bar to our UI. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this. Last time we worked on this. This is the widget responsible for displaying the damage and stuff. So I'm actually going to rename it to let's do damage user widget. Alright, and I believe I have to change it to change it for me. Alright, so I'm just gonna rename this to make this a bit more descriptive of what it is exactly. Anyway, alright, so I'm going to add a new class. It's going to be a user widget. I'm gonna call this one TP progress bar widget. And it's going to be in my UIs folder. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to add a public and a protected section. So let's start with the protected section. The first thing that I'm gonna need is a progress bar. So let's add a U progress bar. And let's forward declare this. I'm gonna add a U property. I'm gonna make it a let's see, fine widget optional. Read only is fine. Next, I'm going to add a U text block. I'm gonna call it current text. Let's set it to null pointer actually, and let's do the same here. Set this to null pointer. I'm gonna give it the same U property, and let's forward declare this too. I'm going to create another one and call it max text. And same thing here, same U property. Perfect. Now I need a way to set the values for my progress bar, the current and max text. So let's make a function for that. So let's just make a U function, make it blueprint callable. And I'm gonna call it void set progress bar values. It's going to take a current and a max. Alright, and let's generate this. In the function here, I'm just going to make sure that I have a progress bar. If I do have a progress bar, then we can get the progress bar and do set %. Well, I actually need the include to be able to do that, so let's do the include for the progress bar, and now we can do the set %. So now I'm going to do set % and use my current value divide by my max value. That's going to be my current %. Next, I'm going to set the current text also. Let's make sure we have a current text. So we can set the current text. Let's do set text. And let's do text as, I actually want to make sure that it's a round number. I don't want decimal. So I'm gonna do an fmath. Round to int. Cool. Next, let's do a max text and do the same thing. Oh, look at that. Cool. So now, now that I have all of this, I need a way to get access to the health and energy value from my attribute set. So let's do this. I'm going to make a new function here. Let's make it a U function and blueprint callable. I'm gonna call it void initialize reject. And it's actually going to take in a character. Let's forward declare that too. And let's generate this. Okay. So first thing first, let's make sure that character is valid. I would call it a character. Actually, character. Let's make sure that character is valid. So character. Then let's cast it to a base character. Now that we have our base character, let's get our ASC, the ability system component. We can just do that, we can just get it from the base character. Now we also need access to our ability attribute set. I'm going to call it attribute set, and we can get it from a cast to our UTP attribute set. And get that from the base character. Get attribute set. Alright, let's include that. Get attribute set. Do I not have a function on my character for this? Let's go have a look. Base character? I do not. Okay, so let's add this. So it's going to be a U attribute set. Oh, perfect. U attribute set, get attribute set, and then return the attribute set. There we go. Now we have access to the attribute set here. Now let's make sure that they are both valid before we continue. Now if they are valid, we can use our ability system component and get gameplay attribute value change delegate using our attribute set to get, let's do the health attribute. Actually, yeah, let's do add U object. This, and I need a function to call. So what I'm trying to do here is bind our health attribute to a function on the progress bar, so that every time it changes, it calls a function on the progress bar widget that can then update itself with the new values. So let's create these functions that we want to call. I'm gonna go to the protected section. I'm gonna make it void health changed. Just gonna take it a const f on attribute change data. Call it data. Make it a const. And this needs to be forward declared. Forward declare. Let's make another one. I'm gonna do max health changed, and one for energy changed, and another one for max energy. And you can if you have more stats like a stamina stats or whatever, you can also add that here. So let's generate the definition for this, and this is what I'm gonna use here. So UTP health change, same for this one, max health and energy and max energy. Perfect. Now every time that health or energy is changed, I want to broadcast it to the widget so that we can change our current and max value. So let's do, actually I need to be able to broadcast it. I need to have a delegate. So let's create a delegate here. So let's do declare dynamic, it's going to be a multicast, it has to be multicast delegate with one param. And then an attribute change, let's call it attribute changed, float, new value. Alright, so this is the delegate that I'm gonna use to broadcast the value of my attribute to the widget. And let's make your property blueprint assignable on health changed. Same thing for max health. On energy change and on max energy change. Perfect. So now let's go back to here and do on health change. We want to broadcast the value, new value. Same thing for this one. On max health change, the energy, max health change, broadcast data dot new value. Oh, did I add old value here? No, just the new value. Same thing here on energy change, broadcast the value, and on max energy change, broadcast the values. Alright. So now when this widget is initialized, it's going to bind to the health and energy attribute, so that every time that they change, it's going to broadcast their value to the widget via this delegate here that we can use in Blueprint to update the text. Cool. Now I'm also going to add, let's add two more functions here. I'm going to do a U function, make it Blueprint. Actually, I want it to be a Blueprint implementable event, and I'm gonna call it void widget initialized. It's going to make sense in a bit. And let's add another one. Can be Blueprint callable, and let's do broadcast initial values. Actually, I need the U attribute set here. Add this here, class UTP attribute set. Alright. This function is basically just here to broadcast initial values. So at first, when we first create this widget, we want to have initial values. So let's say if our health bar is full, we want to make sure that it is initialized with the correct values. Alright. So let's generate this one. And all I want to do here is just broadcast my health, broadcast the max health and the energy, and let's call it from here. So here I'm going to do widget initialized, call that function here so that I know in the blueprint that my widget has been initialized, and broadcast the values. Alright, let's compile this and create the our widget in the blueprint. So here in my widgets folder, I'm going to make a new one. Let's find my progress bar. Here we go. I'm gonna name it WBP. Let's just do health bar first. So now let's add an overlay to the health bar, and we're gonna need a size box also. Let's do 300 by I don't know, 80 or something. That might be a bit too big. 50. Alright. Actually, let's do 500. Okay, so 500 by 50. And we need a progress bar. Let's put that on here. And let's make sure the name is correct. It should be progress bar because that's how we named it in our C++ here. And let's fill that up a little bit. So the color should be red. Let's find some reddish color. Alright. So red. And now we need text. So let's add the text on the overlay here. Actually, before I add the text, let me add a what is it? Vertical box? No, horizontal box. Horizontal box first. I can fit all my text in there. Text. And on the box, I'm gonna add 3 text box. Yeah. Now my horizontal box, I'm gonna make it what? This and that. Yep, should be fine. And then here, let's do fill. What does that look like? That should be fine. Let's just this should be named current text. Let's make that variable. And the other one I named max text. So the last one I'm gonna name max text. Cool. Current text. Let's put some default value in it. Let's do 999. Same thing here. And the middle one, I'm just going to do this. Let's see. Well, that doesn't look great. Let's do auto instead. I hate doing UIs. I'm not good at doing UIs. Okay, that looks decent, I guess. Sure. Yeah, that looks fine. But maybe here. Okay, that looks better. Maybe we should change the text. No, actually, not change the text color, but add some outline to it. Let's do an outline of 1. Yeah. So it's easier to see. Okay, so outline of 1. That looks decent. Another thing that I'd like to do also is for the progress bar itself. Where is that thing? style. Alright, background, I think it's the background image. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's this one. I'm going to change the transparency to 0.5. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And let's just change the color also to black. Let's make it even more transparent. So, where was it? Here, let's do 0.3. Okay, that looks decent. Alright, that's the health bar. Cool. Well, let's make sure the progress bar is also a variable. Alright, that should be it. Yep. Now let's go to the graph and do some stuff. Now in the graph here, let's go back to the C++ for a sec. We have this widget initialized function, right? So first is we initialize the widget. When the widget is done initializing and it has binded all the attribute that it needs, then this function is called widget initialized. And we are going to use that here. So let's do widget initialize event. So when that happens, we know that our widget now has access to all the attributes and stuff that it needs. I'm going to create a sequence. Now from here, I want to let's go on health. Yep. On health change. There we go. So we got the on health change here. From the on health change event, let's do, what was it? Progress, set progress or something, right? Set progress bar value. And this is our health change. So this is the health, so that goes into current. We also need a max health. Wait, before we do that, let's promote this to a variable. Alright, so let me disconnect that. It's gonna go here. Let's make sure we name it current value. We need a max value also here. So let's promote this also to a variable. Let's call it max value. And from the second one here, let's find on max health. Changed. Cool. And same thing here. Actually, we need to set this. Set progress bar value. Put that in here and get the current value. Oops, not set it. I just want to get it. Pass that in here. Cool. And that should be it, I think. Yeah, so when the widget is initialized, it's going to update our progress bar value. Cool. Let's do the same thing for the energy one. So actually I'm just gonna copy this and paste it and rename this to energy bar. Let's open it, and I'm going to change the color here. Let's do blue. Cool. And in the graph here, where we don't want to bind on health, we want to do on energy. So assign on energy change. That goes here. It's gonna connect to here, here. Same thing for this one. We don't want this. Let's delete this. And let's do drag from here on max energy change. Connect that to here. Connect that to here. Alright, that looks correct. Alright, now we have both an energy bar and a health bar. Ooh. Now we need to get them onto the screen. Okay, now how do we get those on the screen? Let's make a new class. I'm going to create a new C++ class and find a overlay widget. I mean a user widget, I must say. And then I'm gonna call it TP overlay widget. It's going to be in my UIs folder, and this is what I'm gonna use to put all my UI element on the screen, like the health bar, your skill bar, or your map, or whatever you will have in your game. This is what we're gonna use to put all of that on the screen. So let's create that. And all I actually need in here is just to add a public section and make a new U function, make it blueprint implementable event. What? Blueprint implementable event, and create void, name it overlay, and then make a void overlay initialized function here. Alright, that's all this needs. Yeah. So this is going to let us know in the blueprint that this overlay has been initialized. Now where are we gonna use this? Let's close all of that. Where is my HUD? Let's go to the HUD. In the HUD here, I'm going to add a new U property. Edit anywhere is fine. T subclass of. I need that overlay widget. So let's delete all of that. I need a U TP overlay widget. Let's call it overlay widget class. Class UTP overlay widget. Alright. So now my HUD has access to the overlay widget that we want to put on the screen. And I'm also going to make a new function here, do a void init HUD. Let's make this. Now in init HUD, I want to first check if let's do TP. What is it? Actually, I need the include first. The include for the overlay widget. So UI overlay widget. Let's make sure that we have an overlay widget class. If we don't, we can just do a UE log. Oh my god, log temp. There we go. And return. Now, if it's valid, then we need to create one. Create the widget. then if it's created properly, now we can take that overlay widget, and then call the overlay widget initialized function that we created earlier. This one. Now we're calling this one. So we create the overlay widget, and when we call initialized on it, and then here we can just add this to the viewport, and let's make sure it's visible, just in case. Alright, hopefully this works. So we add the widget, we give it to the HUD add it to the screen. Alright, cool. Let's compile this and test this out. Alright, in here, first thing I'm gonna do is make a new blueprint for my overlay, my new overlay widget. WBP overlay widget. Okay. Now the overlay widget, I'm going to add a canvas panel to hold everything, and let's add our health bar and the energy bar, the two widgets. Alright, now for this one, do I need to change anything here? I don't think so. Let's do, first I'm gonna select my health bar and anchor it to the top right. It's fine with me. Position, let's do 50-50. Alright, and same for this one, anchor it to here. Let's do 50 and 100. Alright, now they're a bit small because of the size here. What size was it? I think I did 500 and, what was it, 100? No, 50. 50 seems fine. 550. How's that look? Alright. So that's that. Now let's go to the graph. Okay, and here, if I go back to my code, for the overlay, we have this overlay initialized function, which is called here, right? So when we add it to the screen, so when this is added to the screen, overlay initialized, this is called. So now that it's been added to the screen, I want to get my let's do get player character, and from there I have, where is it? Get in here. Yeah, I get my player character, and then if we go to our progress bar, we have this initialize widget function, which requires a character so that it can get the ability system component and the attribute set and all that to bind to it. So this is what we are gonna call here. So actually, we go back to the designer and make this a variable. This one also. Alright, now if I go here, I can get access to them. So I'm gonna get my health bar. And what was the function called again? Initialize widget. So initialize widget. Let's initialize the widget and give it the character. And let's get the energy bar also. and do the same thing. Initialize it. With this character. Alright. So to recap, what we are doing is first let's find our HUD. So we have our HUD class, which we are giving it the overlay widget class, right? Oops. So the HUD is going to add the overlay on the screen. And the overlay is this, which contains our widget. So now when the overlay is added to the screen, this function is called, this event is called, and when this event is called, we get our health and energy widget, and we initialize their values basically by giving them access to the character so that they can bind to the attribute set and get the health and energy value. And in our widget themselves here, when they are initialized, for the health one, it binds to the on health change, so that if there's any change in health, it can respond by updating the progress bar by changing the current and max value. Alright, and that is pretty much it. So now let's test this out. Let's see, I'll press play. And there is no UI on the screen. I believe the error is here in our HUD. It should be if it's not valid then we return, not that if it's valid then we return. Now let's compile this again. Now if I try again, press play, still nothing. You know why this is not working? It's because we never called init HUD anywhere. We created this function, but we also need to call it so that it can indeed add all of this stuff on the screen. So let me go to my player character. I'm gonna go down here after I did all of this stuff here. So here I'm gonna do a play ATP player controller, which I'm gonna cast to a player controller and make sure it's included. He did it for me. And now if we have a player controller, we can do, actually I'm gonna also need the HUD, so let's include UI and HUD. So now I can do a TP HUD, what is it? ATP HUD, let's call it HUD equals get the HUD. Actually not like this, because I need to cast it. Get the HUD, and then if the HUD is valid, then we can do HUD initialize HUD. There we go. Now that should work. So now let's see if I press play again. Hey, look at that, it's working. Nice. And actually, let's do 2 players. And I want to see if it updates. So if I do this and that, it does. Woohoo! Nice. Yep. Perfect. So we got that working. And let's test, if you wanted to test for the energy also, we could do let's go to the ability system, gameplay effect, and I'm gonna create a new gameplay effect here. Let's do gameplay effect, GE, I'm gonna call it ability cost. Open this. What it's gonna do is get my energy and modify it. Let's see, -20. Alright, now if I go to an ability, like the one that I was using, where was it? I think it was this one. I can come down here and give it a cost. So ability cost. Now to make sure that I'm using the cost, I need to do cost, commit ability cost. Let's move that here. Actually, we can just do 1. Let's see. Yep, it does work. And now I can't use it because I don't have enough energy. Cool. Everything works. Nice. Perfect. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.